Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, hello, my name is Raquel and I'm a Canadian living in Mexico. I have been here for almost 2 years now. I lived for 1 year in Tulum and now for about 7 months in Playa del Carmen. So just keep in mind that the information that I'm going to be sharing with you may differ based on what part of Mexico you want to move to. So without further ado, let's get into these tips, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, because I drop new videos every single Sunday sharing my life here living in Playa del Carmen, and I'm making tons of tips and tricks videos just like this one for you on the regular. Okay, subscribe. So the first thing that you need to be aware of when you want to move here is keep in mind how long you can stay here on a visitor's visa. It may differ based on the country that you're coming in from, but in general, Mexico allows travelers to stay on a visitor's visa for up to 6 months here, which is kind of amazing because I know a lot of different areas in the world they'll only allow you to stay for like up to a max of 3 months. So having a 6-month opportunity to stay in Mexico is really, really important, especially if you're considering moving here, because you need to allow yourself to explore the different cities and towns and vibes and see what fits with you. So make sure to get out and explore. Of course, all of these cities have different vibes. Like for example, Tulum is more like hippie, spiritual, small beach town vibes, and Playa del Carmen is larger, it's more city vibes, it's more hustle and bustle, city that never sleeps, it's parties every day. So it is very different vibes for these two cities. So make sure that you explore and get a feel for each of the different places that you potentially want to live in before you commit. I am in some Facebook groups, okay, and I have seen people complain. Like when I joined a Playa del Carmen Facebook group, I remember seeing this girl being like, oh my God, Playa del Carmen this, and I've been here for a month, and this, and I don't really like vibe with the people here, and blah, blah, blah. So it's like,
go somewhere else. Nobody's forcing you to be here.
That is why this is key and why I'm recommending this as the first thing that you do if you want to move here. So find a place that matches your vibe. So after you've found the city that you vibe with the most here in Mexico, the next thing that you need to do is secure your housing, secure that apartment, secure that house that you want to get. And I just want to specify that you don't have to be a citizen or a temporary or permanent resident here in Mexico to secure long-term housing. It's definitely different to Canada and the US in that way, because in Canada, you know, in the US, they want like your credit history and background check and references and like all of these things in order for you to rent out their place. But here, all you need is a first month's rent and deposit. In some cases, some landlords might ask you for proof of just income coming in or proof that you have a job, but honestly, out of the 3 houses and apartments that I've lived in my time here in Mexico, only one of them has asked me for that. So that's not a super common thing that landlords are gonna ask from you, so the rental process is so easy. And there are a few ways that you can secure housing. The first and the easiest way is through Facebook Marketplace. You literally just type into Facebook Marketplace, you know, houses for rent in, and then whatever city that, you know, you're looking for rentals in. You're gonna type that in, and then there's just gonna be a list of all of these different house and apartment rentals with prices and what's included and everything like that. So you can browse through that, and anything you're interested in, you can just send the landlord a message and arrange for a date and time to meet up for you to actually see the place. And 100%, I recommend that you go in and actually see the place. Take a walk around and test out, you know, the water pressure. See if the water pressure is really, really good. Test out, you know, different outlets. Test out the Wi-Fi. okay? Because this house that I rented in Tulum, the Wi-Fi was trash. And I work online, so that is a no-go. So make sure to connect to that Wi-Fi and definitely test that out. The second way you can find a place for rent is literally just by driving around and looking at areas that you like to live in and seeing if there are any for rent signs outside in the front. Like all the time when I'm driving around, walking around, just like out and about in the city, there are so many places that have a for rent sign or a for sale sign out in front, and they have their contact number underneath that, so you can just take note of the number and contact that person and let them know that you want to look at the rental. And finally, you can look in Facebook groups. So you can literally just go into Facebook and type buy, sell, rentals, Playa del Carmen, or wherever city of Mexico that you want to live in. And there's gonna be a group that pops up of real estate, agents and landlords and people who are, renting out spaces. They're gonna be in there, and what you wanna do is just make a post in the Facebook group saying, hey, I am looking for a 1-bedroom apartment, with laundry and Wi-Fi included, that's pet friendly. This is my budget and I'm looking for a long-term rental. Post it in the group and people are going to reach out to you and show you the different rentals that they have that fit the criteria that you're looking for. And they're pretty fast to respond to you because obviously they're looking to rent out their property. So they are going to contact you in 24 hours or less. And like I mentioned, the process is super easy. You just need the first month's rent and deposit, and then you'll need to sign a contract with your landlord. But honestly, it's just the pretty standard contract that comes with a rental, agreeing that if you damage anything in the house or the apartment, that's gonna come out of your deposit and maintenance is included and just the standard things like that. And this leads me into my next point, which is expenses. So if you are like me and you like to plan ahead and have, that extra cushion of money before you decide to move to Mexico, I'm going to share with you exactly, what I did and what kind of expenses and budget that you're going to need in order to live and survive here. When I first came back in 2022, I saved up about $9,000 Canadian. That was a really, really nice cushion that I gave myself before I moved here because I knew in my head that, I'm gonna have to pay for rent and the first grocery haul that we're gonna get is going to cost a lot, and I like to eat out too. So I was just planning, for literally any scenario. And so yeah, that $9,000 Canadian was a great cushion for me to come into Mexico and pay for what I needed to pay and not have to worry about money. And I also work online, so that money was going to keep on coming in for me. And I suspect you as well, if you are planning to move to Mexico, that you have some sort of online job or working visa or something like that, so that money keeps coming in. And let me give you a little breakdown of, my current expenses and how much you need to have every single month in order to, just bare minimum. I'm not talking about savings or emergency fund or anything like that. I'm just talking about what you would need to pay in order to live here. So my rent currently, I am in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Playa del Carmen, and I pay $1,000 Canadian for rent every single month. And this rent includes Wi-Fi, which is amazing. So a lot of the rentals that you will see will come with Wi-Fi. I don't think I've ever seen a listing or a house that didn't have Wi-Fi included into the rent price, which is nice. I know a lot of landlords and people who have these rentals, listed for people to rent from, they're aware that there's a lot of tourists and expats and people who work online. So they like to include it into the rental price, which is always nice. The next thing you need is food, of course, groceries. And this is just me personally, the different products and different foods that I like, and I have 2 cats that I need to care for, and my boyfriend as well. So just keeping that all in mind for food and groceries, and this includes also eating out. For me, that works out to be around $1,000 Canadian every single month. The next expense is electricity. So electricity here is billed out to you every other month. I don't know why, it's just billed out every other month. And of course, this is going to vary based on, you know, if your AC is blasting all the time, if you always have the lights on, like, you already know. That is going to affect your electricity bill. So I would budget around $100 to $200 every other month. And then there is water. So the water, that you use in the sink, the water you use to shower. And again, this will vary because a lot of the times too, landlords will include this in the rental cost because the price for water every single month isn't that much. Water is around like $20 to $30 Canadian every single month. So a lot of the times the landlord will include that in the rental price, but if not, that's around what you can expect. And of course, again, this varies based on your water usage. And then last but not least is like the miscellaneous stuff, the quarterly stuff, maybe the stuff that's not every single month, but you still want to plan for, like the vet. For example, if you are coming down with pets, which by the way, bringing in a pet is super easy. You just have to show, proof from your veterinarian that they have all of their shots, all of their vaccinations are up to date, and they are vaccinated for rabies. And that's literally all you need to get that stamp of approval to bring your pet into Mexico. So super easy. Or if you want to adopt a pet, also such an easy process as well, and super easy bringing them back into your country as well. At least in Canada, definitely check, what requirements that your country needs to bring in a pet back to your home country if you ever plan on visiting back there again. I know some places require your pet to be microchipped, but like Mexico, Canada just requires those documentations of vaccination and rabies. So it's easy to travel with these little guys here. So for the vet, it is a lot cheaper compared to what you would pay in Canada. Like to get them their initial vaccination, that was around $35, $40, which I thought was pretty good. So just keep in mind any expenses that you may need to take care of your pets, especially, if your pet's older and they have a lot of medications and things like that. Keep that in mind, but it is relatively affordable. And then also other things like the dentist. Oh my God, I love the dentist system here in Mexico. It is amazing and so affordable. Like in Canada, I was paying $200 for just my, biannual cleaning, but here I paid $60. So that is a huge difference and something that I love. And that's because the government subsidizes, the dentist's education here. So the government essentially pays for a lot of their education. So when they graduate, they don't have like insurmountable amounts of debt that they need to pay back. So they can charge lower prices for your cleaning. And of course, this applies to things outside of cleanings, fixing your cavities or getting a whitening or like any other dental procedure is just so much cheaper here, which I absolutely love. I didn't have insurance from my workplace because I work as an independent contractor. So where I work doesn't cover any like expenses or offer any benefits or anything like that because I'm considered self-employed. So that would be a shift that you would have to make if you are currently working somewhere where they're providing you benefits and you're moving to Mexico. You're not going to have those benefits anymore. You're going to have to pay for that out of pocket. But for me, I was already paying for that out of pocket for years now. I was already used to paying for my dental services, and I loved that I paid a fraction of the price here. Like seriously, so good. And also I feel like the dentist here just like, they just care more about, you know, your teeth and the procedures that you may need or not need. Like I feel like in Canada, it was more of a money grab versus here, they're not gonna do any unnecessary procedures. Like back in Canada, before I came, they discovered that I had some cavities and immediately they were like, we need to get you scheduled in for surgery. Like we need to fix your cavities, like blah, 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 let's get you in. But when I came here, I didn't do the procedure in Canada. But when I came here and got my first cleaning, they're like, oh yeah, like I see you have some cavities, but like they're way too shallow to do anything. Like we're going to harm the healthy tissue that you have in there. So it's not gonna do you any good to get a surgery done for this and fill in your cavities. So that blew my mind. Anyways, I went on a whole tangent about the dentist because clearly, I just love the dental service here. So overall, your expenses here are pretty low compared to Canada. Overall, I would say in order for you to just meet like your basic necessities, like have a roof over your head and food to eat, I would say you could survive here on 3,000 Canadian every single month. The next thing that you should know about moving here is the friend department. How do you make friends in a completely new country where you might not know anybody? So the best way that I found is using Bumble BFF. Using Bumble BFF was so easy for me to see who's in my local area, see, you know, the potential friends' interests, and if we matched, we can start a conversation and meet up. And that's actually how I know Angie, who's appeared in a lot of my vlogs, and also Jacqueline. If you remember her from my birthday vlog, I met both of them on Bumble, and they're just amazing, amazing people, and I'm so glad I got to connect with them. So I highly, highly recommend Bumble BFF to connect. And another reason why I love Bumble BFF is because a lot of the people that visit here and, you know, who you might meet outside and talk to and socialize with outside are gonna be tourists. So they're only gonna be staying here for a week, 2 weeks, you know, a few months, and then they're gonna leave. And you can't make genuine connections with somebody like that when you know inevitably they're gonna go. And that is something that I personally didn't want because I knew I was gonna stay here long term, and I wanted to build and continue to build, you know, a community of people, of genuine, you know, friendships and people that I can surround myself with, because that is just so important in any corner of the world that you're in. So definitely try Bumble BFF. And if you're staying here long term, make sure to state that in your bio, like looking for people who are here long term, because there are people on there as well who are just traveling for a short amount of time and they're just looking for people to like go out with here and there, and then they're gonna go back to their home country or to another place. Now you're back starting from square one, looking for a new friend again. So definitely make sure to state that in your bio that you are here for the long run and looking for long-term genuine friendships. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still go outside and meet people organically and things like that. And that's definitely still a way to make connections, but the primary language here is Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, I highly recommend that you start learning, because it's just going to be a lot easier for you to make friends and meet new connections in a more organic way. I am intermediate level with my Spanish. When I first came down here, I was very beginner. You know, I just knew the basics to get by, but now I'm more like intermediate level, and that is all thanks to Preply. Preply is a huge database of tutors where you can take language lessons in many different languages from around the world. You can go onto Preply's database, scroll through all of the tutors. You can see exactly, you know, how much they cost for a lesson, and you can start a subscription. You know, if you want 2 lessons a week, 3 lessons a week, you can adjust that, you know, according to your budget. And if you start with one tutor and you don't like them, you could switch out your tutor at any moment. So that has been the best way that I've been learning. I need to actually like verbally speak out loud with somebody, and I need somebody, you know, who guides me through the proper grammar and flow of things in order for me to understand. This is just how I personally got myself from beginner to intermediate level Spanish, and one day I will be completely fluent. And so I am using Preply to get there. Another way you can make friends is through Facebook groups. If you are an expat, there are expat groups out there for you on Facebook. If you type in, you know, expats in Tulum or expats in Playa del Carmen or whatever city that you're in, there will most likely be a group of people there for you that you can go and just see the community. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm new, like anybody want to connect, or, you know, go out for a coffee or go out for dinner or whatever the case is. Like, do not be shy to put yourself out there and make those connections, and just make your experience so much better when you plan on living here. The last thing that you need to know if you're planning to move here to Mexico is looking into a temporary residency. Yes, you can always keep going back and forth between countries on your 6 months visitor's visa, because you can come in the country for 6 months and then you have to leave. You don't necessarily have to go back to your home country if you don't want to. You just have to leave the country and come back in for you to restart that 6-month process. I know a ton of people here that are doing that, and they keep doing that, and it's been working for them. But I did meet somebody here. She was from Europe, and she said that she had problems her last time trying to get into the country because she's been doing that, you know, 6 months stay and leaving and 6 months stay, coming back. And then that last time that she came into Mexico, she had that issue at immigration, and they only give her permission to stay for 1 month that time. So I highly recommend looking into a temporary residency if you are planning on staying here for months and months at a time. And I know if you're a Canadian or American citizen, it's a lot easier for them to grant you that permission to just come in the country and leave and do that multiple times. But like, you never know. One day you could just get that immigration officer who's having a really bad day, or you get one that's like a stickler for the rules, and they're like, you know what? You have been in and out of this country 6 times now. Like, what's the tea? I'm only gonna let you stay here for 1 month this time or 2 months this time, you know, which I don't want to happen to you. So definitely look into getting a temporary residency. So in order to get a temporary residency, you are going to need to work with an immigration lawyer. And I have been through it with the immigration lawyers until I finally got my temporary residency here. In the beginning, I found one through an old friend that I had, and you know, he started the process, whatever, and I paid him half of the fee. Then all of a sudden he told me that I needed to leave the country within the next 30 days and go to a Canadian consulate and like do this whole interview process and whatever, get this approval and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hold up, you never advised me about this in the first place. Like, I did not know I had to leave the country because I was not planning to. So got in a whole fight with that lawyer, and eventually he did end up giving me my money back, which thank God he did, because he could have easily been like, absolutely not, I'm taking your money and peace out, like never contact me again. So that was my first lawyer experience, which was not good, but it's okay. Everything in its own right timing. You know, that time wasn't the time that I was meant to get it. Now was more the time, I guess. After that, I was looking for a while. I asked in Facebook groups, you know, does anybody know any good immigration lawyers to get temporary residencies? And, you know, I DM'd and talked to a few back and forth, but the process was just not working for me. And what was stopping me was the fact that I didn't have any ties here. Like, I don't work here, I don't have family here, I'm not married here. So those factors, a lot of the lawyers that I spoke to, they turned me down, and they're like, no, like getting a temporary residence is impossible. And then finally, I met with a lawyer who could make it happen for me. So I got this lawyer's contact information through a friend of a friend, the same friend that I told you, you know, where she went through immigration and they only allowed her to stay for 1 month. She found this amazing lawyer and she passed on her contact information to me, which, like, hallelujah, thank God that she did, because that process for getting my temporary residency was so smooth and so easy. What happened was I met with a lawyer. I gave her photocopies of my passport and a current bill that I had. Like I brought like my electricity bill with like my current address of where I'm staying in Playa del Carmen, and she like took photocopies of everything like that. And then she went and made an appointment with the immigration office. And I was a bit nervous at first because in order to get this residency, you need to stay in Mexico past your visitor's visa expiration date. So you will have to be in the country illegally until you get your temporary residency. My visitor's visa expired on March 2nd, 2024, and my appointment to get my residency was April 23rd, 2024. I stayed a month and a half in the country illegally. But don't worry, like unless you get in like serious trouble with the law, you know, and police are investigating who you are and like looking into your background and stuff, like they don't care. So I stayed my month and a half, you know, illegally here doing my thing. And then I went to my appointment, and the whole thing took about 4 hours from the time that I got there. I went to my lawyer's office the day before and just like finalized some paperwork, you know, told them what I did for work and like marital status and like just basic, you know, form documentation that I would need to have. And they fill it out all in Spanish for you, which is amazing. So I did that the day before that I went to my immigration appointment, and then pulled up to my immigration appointment, waited for them to call my name, and you go inside and you give them all of the documentation that your lawyer gave you. They go through it and you need to pay. I paid around 15,000 pesos to get my temporary residency. And so I paid for that, and then, you know, you go outside, wait again for them to call your name, and then they took my picture and they printed it out on the spot, and I got it the same day.
What?
This is my temporary residence card, and I look pissed. Like, I look like I am going to fight somebody in this photo, but ultimately I am so happy that I ended up getting this instead of just, you know, leaving the country and coming back in, because there are perks, okay? There are benefits to getting a temporary residency. Once you are a temporary resident, you can now open a bank account here. You can also purchase property here. You can buy a car. You can buy, you know, a motorcycle, method of transportation. You can access the public healthcare system, which is a lot more affordable here than in a lot of different places in the world. So definitely recommend checking that out if that's something that's important to you. You can also get your driver's license here. The best benefit of them all, at least for me personally right now, is getting access to the local discounts. So a lot of the places that you go and visit in Mexico, they have, you know, a tourist price and they have a local price for literally everything except for restaurants. So if you want to go to a cenote, if you want to go to, you know, a show, if you want to take the ferry down to Cozumel Island, if you want to do a lot of things, there is going to be a local price and a tourist price. And the local price can be anywhere up to 50% off of the tourist price. For example, when I went to Cocobongo, the regular tourist price that you have to pay for the basic general admission was 1,400 pesos. But with the local discount, I only paid 870 pesos. That is a huge difference and huge advantage that you have when you have a temporary residency. I highly, highly, highly recommend that. So there you have it. That is everything that you need to know if you want to move to Mexico. If you want some further tips about staying here longer term, check out this video here where I talk about 3 things that you need to know before you come to Mexico. I break down like transportation, you know, getting to and from the airports, and I just share, you know, some more details about that in that video. So definitely go and check it out. Thank you so much for watching. If you have come this far and watched all the way to the end, I appreciate you so much. Your viewership and your support like really means a lot to me, and I appreciate every single one of you that has watched a video on my channel. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button so we can go on more adventures here in the Riviera Maya, and I can share with you more tips about the experience here living in Mexico. That is all, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.